Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5. I think it's almost over. We're getting towards the end. Before I start this review, I want to clear up something that I said. I watched the making of The Last of Us, and I got to see the behind the scenes with the makeup artists, and they don't use special effects on the clickers and on the infected. I want to clear that up now because I said I like how they use the special effects. They don't use special effects. That's all from good makeup. So shout out to the makeup artists from The Last of Us. Let's get into it. So we start off with like a whole platoon of these WLF officers. It looked like they took over a hospital. They got a woman held in one of the patient rooms. She had a name tag on her, L Park. And this room, you could tell, was a patient's room, but they turned it into an interrogation room. And they got this one lady who was walking through, and you can tell she in some type of position of power, or she in charge of that platoon, because you could just tell by the way she was walking through the aura. She had aura. We find out that the woman being interrogated name is Elise, who was played by Hetty Ann Park. The woman who was interrogating her, her name is Hanrahan, if I'm pronouncing it right. Hanrahan is played by Alana Ubach. So come to find out, Elise and a whole bunch of her best men, her top men in her platoon or her crew or whatever she got, she sent her best men to this place to, I guess, do recon and scout it out to see what's going on. They go quiet for a second. They hit her back through radio. They go quiet again. She said the next time that they hit her, they breathing heavy and it sound like it's hard for him to breathe and she's trying to figure out why. He finally replies back and let her know that the infection is in the air. Before she had got this message, we never knew if the infection was airborne or not. To anybody who never played the game, they don't know nothing about the spores and all of that until they see the show, certain parts of the show where they show you. So at this point, they let her know that it's in the air, but I don't think they know it's coming from the spores. They just think that they was breathing it in and they caught the infection. The spores is like a poisonous pollen. And if you breathe this, it's attached to any of the areas where the infection area is real high. And you can see it through the air. It's like pollen that, or if you take a picture with like a camera and there's dirt in the room, or if you do a recording and there's a lot of dirt in the air, it's like spores. You can see it. And the spores is dangerous. If you breathe them spores in, you cook automatically. Before they reached basement 1 and 2, communications with these dudes was doing all right. And then when they got down there, they got silent. They reached back to her and they was having problems breathing. The scene skip and we back in Seattle, back at the theater, where Dina and Ellie, they trying to figure out a way to navigate through the town without getting into a shootout or being attacked by the infected. Because remember when the last episode ended, they could see the bombs going off in the distance and the gunfire. So they don't know what's really going on in the city, and they trying to just get through the city as quiet as they can to reach where it is that they need to go. So they decided that Dina going to be the one to map out how they get there. So while Dina is mapping everything out, Ellie just walking around getting to know the place, and she discovered a whole theater auditorium with guitars on the stage. Some people might think it's strange that it's so many guitars in every other scene or every other show that they show guitars, and how is it this many guitars in the town? I heard somebody say that. But Seattle, Washington is a known place for like guitar players. It was a whole genre of music that started in the 90s from people from Seattle, Washington, grunge. So guitar got a heavy influence in Seattle, Washington, and Washington State in general. It actually fit with the aura of the whole state and the aura of the town that they actually roaming through. Ellie give us another show with guitars. I don't think she sung this time. She just played a little tune. And now when I see her do this, I can't help but think that she might be thinking about Joel. Every time she see guitars or every time music playing, that was just a thing of his to play guitar and sing tunes. So I'm thinking every time she see this, she get into a deep mode. She get to thinking and it just make her want to play something deep. That's just my thought. So then Dina walk in and explain to her that she done mapped out a plan. She figured out a way where they could get through the city unharmed, unscathed, and unseen. But she didn't sugarcoat it when she told her that she found a way. She also explained that it won't be easy because those areas that she mapped out, she know for a fact that it's either infected or it's going to be like looters or militia soldiers right there in those areas. So she didn't try to sugarcoat it. But at the end of the day, they really didn't have a choice. So they hit the town, they got started. And you could tell Ellie was cautious from the rip. She was on 10 every step. It was an aura that was in through the town that they was moving through. I'm telling you, if you seen this episode, this city was just eerie that they was in. So I guess they tried to calm the mood down. They talked future plans, talked some baby talk. And right while they was having that good conversation, they run into a whole group of unalived scar people. I mean, you can tell this was done intentionally. Somebody did this because, with the bodies just stacked on top of each other and the whacked out murals, you can tell this was done by somebody. Now, whoever this is in this picture up on the wall, I'm thinking and believing that I come to believe that this might be their leader. She kind of like a Jesus figure to them, and you could tell by how they painted the mural and how they portrayed her on this wall. I guess we're gonna find more out about that later. After seeing the bodies, Ellie tried to baby Dina when she threw up or whatever. She felt like she regret bringing her out, knowing that she's pregnant. She shouldn't have her in this environment. And I think that kind of offended Dina. That's when she kind of like transformed and she had to let Ellie know, like, this not her first rodeo. She gave her some of her backstory and let her know how hard her life was. And, how she ended up living in that community with Tommy and what she lost along the way. So this is something that she kind of used to. Basically, she let Ellie know, pregnant or not, she could keep up, basically. So it's now nightfall, and they still scaling walls, moving around, just trying to be unseen until they reach Abby and her crew. Now remember, Dina know where Abby and her crew is. She knew way back before Joel was killed, because like I said, she was moving around with Dina for a little while. And when they was at the house, she got to hear all 3-4 of them have a conversation about what the next move's gonna be. So they finally had to arrive at the place where they supposed to be going. And it looked like the same place from earlier, but it's not. It's like a small compound kind of place. And they scope around and look. You can see spotlights and searchlights and all of that around. Now, at this point, Ellie was getting anxious. And Dina had to explain to Ellie to slow down a little bit. And that using firepower will cause attention and cause more soldiers, or if not, infected. Because she knew that Ellie could get trigger happy if they run into something or if they have some kind of issue. So she just explained to her, like, use your knife first. Move quiet, attack with the knife. Promise me you're going to attack with your knife and not start shooting. And Ellie promised her, and they kept moving. And I kind of felt that it was about to get intense. You could just feel it. And I was right. That place that they entered was kind of a bad spot. They immediately ran into a number of infected. Except these infected was different. They moved a little different, and they moved with a little intelligence. They kind of like thought before they acted. They didn't immediately chase them like you would usually see infected or clickers do. They kind of was a little standoffish, and that immediately raised Dina's attention. But Ellie, it kind of made Ellie remember when she had encountered one of those, and it kind of stalked her, followed her, and then it pounced on her. To me, I just see this as those clickers and anybody who infected. I see this as the infected evolving. Like, it kind of reminded me of the movie Army of the Dead by Zack Snyder, where the zombies in that movie, it was a small group of them who was starting to move as if they wasn't infected. It was crazy. Like, they had thought process, they was thinking things out, they was planning it out, and they actually got lucky in a few situations that they was up against, all because they was using intelligence. And that's what that remind me of. And once again, there's no special effects on these zombies. Just great makeup artists and great characters. It was no CGI, no special effects. It's all makeup. Now, at this point, when they saw the infected ducking and dodging, coming out, ducking back, it was scaring them. They were starting to get terrified. They didn't know what to do because it was infected behind them, in front of them, on the side. They surrounded this whole storage area that they went in to hide. Now, at this point, when they completely surrounded by the infected, they couldn't even fire a shot. If they fired a shot, for sure they was going to be overrun. It was going to be more infected coming. It was going to be soldiers at a distance, probably on rooftops. It was no way they was going to get away if they fired that shot. But they didn't have a choice. So Ellie told Dina to run while she distracted them. But like I said, these infected was different. They kind of outsmarted Ellie. And when Dina went to run, they kept their eyes on Ellie, surrounded her, and then tackled her. Dina locked herself in a cage, like a storage cage, where the infected, where she thought the infected couldn't get in. But they immediately started tearing through the gate. It was a thick storage gate, and they was tearing through that gate, getting in there, and she was stuck. So while Dina trying to shoot the infected that's trying to get in the gate, and Ellie over there in the corner getting overpowered and mauled by infected, out of nowhere, Jesse came out blasting, and he saved them. He actually came out and chased the infected off. Now, to me, this part was crazy. I was thinking, like, damn, was Jesse stalking them? But no, I think Jesse and them knew that Ellie and them didn't have a chance going out into the wild and into the open city. And he said him and Tommy came along with him. And I believe they was doing that, trying to protect and save Ellie and them, because they knew they was not going to make it back by themselves if they went into that city. And lucky they did do that. That's just my thoughts. Dina persuaded Jesse that Ellie didn't get bit, but it looked like she did get bit. But like I said, they don't know that she immune. So Dina now know the secret, and she got to play it off as well, like how Joel and all of them used to play it off. So she pulling on Jesse Jacket saying, no, she not bit. I swear, she didn't get bit. So they eventually move along, and they bail out of that building that they was in. But immediately when they get outside, they start to take gunfire from whatever soldiers is living around that compound, which I think is the WLF. Jesse covered the girl with returning gunfire while they hit the gate, and then they disappeared into this forest area, this wooded area that even the guys that was chasing them didn't want to go in. They immediately stopped at the gate and said, we don't go in here. Now, to me, at this point, I feel like this is where everything could change at, kind of for the better. Because when they entered this wooded area, obviously this wooded area respected by the people who chasing them. Come to find out, this wooded area belonged to the Scar people. And as cold as the Scar people could be, I still think it's a positive outcome between Ellie and those people, because they not really too fond of the WLF themselves. And they say sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's just a thought. So after they watch a demonstration of the Scar people, bow and arrows immediately start flying towards Ellie and them. They got to get out of there. Jesse grabbed Dina. They go their separate way. Ellie go her separate way, while still taking arrow fire coming at her left and right. She eventually hide, get away from the Scar people, dip up out of that wooded area, and Ellie finally reached the hospital. Ellie found herself in front of the hospital that we saw in the beginning of the episode, and I think she found where the people at. But this building a little different than the one that they just came from, because in front of this building is highly guarded by a whole bunch of soldiers and WLF members that's guarding around the area, so she got to find a way to sneak in. Soldiers and dogs on high alert, but Ellie eventually slipped away, and it immediately skipped to Nora, played by Tati Gabrielle. It showed her playing nurse to some wounded WLF members. Out of nowhere, she get approached by Ellie. Ellie snuck up on Nora out of nowhere. She was in there cleaning off some garms and cleaning off bandages, and Ellie walked right up on her. Now, the first thing I was thinking is, why didn't Ellie just do Nora and keep it moving? But I had to remember she had to get the answers from Nora where Abby was at. Her whole reason for doing all of this is to find Abby. So she tried to interrogate Nora on where Abby was, but Nora wasn't breaking. They actually exchanged insults back and forth before Nora immediately bolted and just started running and trying to alarm all the guards that somebody had intruded while Ellie was chasing behind her. And out of all places that Nora could have ran, she ended up downstairs in the basement floors. I think it's basement 1 and 2 in this building. And she ended up in the basement, and I thought to myself, damn, this is about to end off bad. Really, it was. It was all bad. I don't know what made her run in the basement. She was scared for her life. So Ellie eventually followed behind her into the basement. And you can tell that the way this basement looked, this was the area that Elise was talking about earlier to Hanarahan. This is the place she was explaining where she lost her soldiers. And you could tell Ellie never seen this much infection in any area like this. I mean, it took over the walls, the floors. You could see people was attached to it in the walls. And while Ellie was navigating through this basement area, she ended up running into Elise. Now, the first thing I had to ask myself was, how did Elise end up in this basement when she was upstairs? The WLF. I think the WLF, with their cold tactics, instead of shooting Elise, made her walk herself down there to that basement and live the rest of her hours out among the infected. I really believe that's how she got down there. Ellie finally caught up to Nora and found Nora laid out at the end of the basement hallway. Like, she was coughing up blood. Nora was in bad shape. She was in bad shape. You can tell she was infected. She had breathed in the spores from the basement, and it immediately took effect on her body. She couldn't stand up. She was coughing up blood, and she kind of insulted Ellie and called Ellie stupid for causing this and causing her to run down there and Ellie chasing behind her because the spores would kill them both. She said Ellie was stupid because you just killed us both. Look what you did. And what she didn't realize was that Ellie was immune to this. So when she see Ellie not leaning over and Ellie not coughing and Ellie not having these effects, she immediately put two pieces together and said, you the immune girl that everybody is talking about. So people do know that it is a girl that's running around that is immune. They just don't know who the girl is. Joel and them thought they was keeping a secret, but come to find out the word did get out. People just don't know who it is. So after they have a conversation and she explained that she know who she is now, Ellie grabbed a pipe and she returned the favor for Joel. So it was one down and three more to go. She never got to find where Abby was, but she felt like she got revenge, one down, and she gonna find the rest of them. So then it immediately skipped to Ellie waking up in the bed and Joel walking in the room greeting her. But I don't know if this was a flashback or if they telling us that everything that we just saw was a dream. It kind of leave you on the edge wondering. So let me know what y'all think about this episode. To me, I think it was a roller coaster. It was lit. I like it. Leave a comment and thanks for watching.